Dearest beloved divine friends, family, brothers and sisters, welcome to In the Raw, another in the series, brought to you with the compliments of RK's Guyana Free Media. And I'm your host, Hajji, Dr. Roshan. The topic here has to be the Apnu Afc seems to be in perpetual confusion. The KWAME McCOY matter. I just want to do this piece for a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. I have always been a friend, so to say, of the People's National Congress since Hugh Desmond Hoyt's reign in Guyana politics as president and after as opposition leader, and also almost forever to a certain level because of, as a little boy, I knew Oscar Clark, a total and absolute gentleman, always and forever. And Mrs. Apnu Afc, those two that I have always had some kind of a interaction, communication with. But you know, since they went into opposition mode again, the despotism to denigrate and to disgrace the PPPC ministers and government has been excessive to the point of ludicrosity and even gross stupidity. And you can see extremely poor leadership. You can see extremely confusing situations with them, to the point where, you know, this is supposed to be the KWAME McCOY affair, but imagine they were not going for the meetings of the debate or for the presentation of the budget 2021, but they would go to eat. Now that looks bad. That you're going to eat, but you're not participating. All in all, because you know what the budget entails. And that it is truly a people's budget. And there's no way you can debate it against it, unless one has a mental problem or truly bereft of intelligence and sense. I think also the fact that they know the way the election went and what's going to happen in the future, that the People's National Congress, unfortunately, may not see power for another 50 to 100 years. Unless something intellectual happens and they have the kind of a charismatic leader who can try to create the semblance of maturity and professionalism that the government may feel comfortable to talk to them and create the atmosphere in a few years or a few periods of 5 years for the elections, and then maybe they could brought in into a national partnership. Now, for leadership, I believe in national cohesion, but you cannot have a man who and a woman who are completely diametrically apart coming together for cohabitation in a marriage. You cannot have persons who are dedicated, albeit ridiculously, even to the point of gross stupidity, and then trying to ask that they want recognition and cohesion and power. As former President David Granger did a day or two before, when he realized it was going to be exposed that he would like to meet to discuss a national partnership for leadership. It don't work like that. And you don't work with a man like Joseph Harman, who's the opposition leader, not going to meetings, for any budget meetings, all because obviously they can't, he has nothing to debate about, and then collecting money, salaries and perks in that case. So what happens, friends, ladies and gentlemen? The despotism is getting worse. For example, when Sherrod Duncan eats so much food, he went in Parliament and lie down and sleep. And people made such a mockery of him that will go in Google and around the world perpetually. A man who was like a former superhero. A man I loved and everybody actually liked. And then getting into the political imbroglio of stupidity, he's destroyed his legacy as a man of principle. Now, the despotism that has to do with KWAME McCOY. Why did they pick on Anil Nandalal, the intellectual power and prowess of law, decorum and elegance? Why didn't they pick on the finance genius, Senior Minister Dr. Ashni Singh, or Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, the master and the power of politics, tact, political tact, administration, international law? Even though he's not a lawyer, the man understands law and international law. Why didn't they pick on these people, or even an ordinary member of parliament, or Perpetual, the Super Minister Power, or the youth from the Ministry of Youth and Sports? Why did they pick on him? But they particularly chose KWAME McCOY because some of the people were trained to pick on him. And they decided to make the accusation. While they had a verbal altercation and he pointed, they went and said he hit them on the face. No medical, no witness. And then hours after, they made the allegation when seeking consultation. I mean, Miss Hallie really destroying her legacy. Such a beautiful woman. Pretty woman, you know. I find her to be a pretty woman, a good-looking woman. Obviously with a modicum of intelligence and sense. Why would she make such an allegation? And then she was a former WPA, and she actually resigned from the WPA and went in there because she was promised a position there. Okay, look, ambition, people have a right to choose, people have a right for divorce, people have a right to remarry, people have a right to change their religions, and so on and so on. So they can jump ship. But they chose KWAME McCOY because it is known that he's a man who don't stand for nonsense. And some of their people have been trained to dislike him. So if they're to call out people to protest against Nandalal or this one or that one or try to make a mockery, they will not be as successful if they do it with KWAME McCOY. But even that was not successful with KWAME McCOY. It shows the denigration that they have reached, the disrespect in the eyes of their supporters. The police has made it quite clear to the Speaker of Parliament that they find no evidence. They find no evidence of any assault. Verbal altercation, yes. Cameras are there, but Sherrod Duncan has said, even though you have a camera there, the camera don't have to catch it. I mean, Sherrod needs to be catch back himself, man. Since he went into the Chronicle, Sherrod has lost his way. Sherrod, you need to win back our hearts, man. A position, an appointment, and a poverty in politics is not worth your dignity, man. So they tried to do this, thinking somehow or the other they will disaffect the PPPC government, to my opinion. And ladies and gentlemen, I am a commentator. I am a kind of an analyst, but not to the point like men like Freddie Kissoon and Christopher Ram. I'm just an unlord commentator, politically, so to say. So my point is, let us be realistic and understand why they picked on this man. The reason behind it. And because they know he's a man who could be very vocal. And he has a certain passion, but never vulgar, lewd, rude, or violent. Some people try to prove something about that he was somewhat violent. Well, that was self-defense. So here at this point in time, I'm recognizing KWAME McCOY, and I'm advising the People's National Congress, you need to show elegance and maturity, not behaving like a bad boy to please a small segment of your supporters. You have a larger segment of your supporters who want communication, peace, and joy. And how can you, Mr. Harman, expect the PPPC government to recognize you and to communicate with you, and you're behaving and throwing tantrums and misbehaving, and you don't recognize the government? I mean, I have never seen such a ludicrosity in my entire life. And so you, sir, like what some of your people wrote in the leaders and supporters in Guyana and around the world wrote in the media recently, I was made to understand that the president needs, your presidential candidate, who is Arthur Granger, needs to retire. And you, sir, and I think it's only a matter of time before they wake up, you need to be removed and replaced by a man of intellect and wisdom, a good leader, not just someone who behaves bad and throws tantrums. We need intellectual prowess, wisdom, communication, skill, respectability. And you have lost it all for the 5 months of madness that you put Guyana into, and shame and disgrace around the world. So this is an opinion point, a viewpoint from yours truly, me, your brother Hajji, Dr. Roshan Khan, in the raw arcade. Guyana Free Media saying thank you for tuning in and listening, and farewell, friends.